I got a question from one of our traders this morning on the importance or relevance of VPOCs. And I thought, well, rather than let's just look at VPOC, let's look at it in terms of a VPOC is one thing. So it's the highest volume point on a chart of a day. But what does that mean? And too often people get sucked into the whole idea that things are very linear and very rigid, that a VPOC will create a reaction. You can buy the VPOC if we come down to it, you can sell it if we come up to it, and you always get a trade out of it. But what people often miss on this is then thinking about, okay, well, fine, you might get a trade on it. How far can that trade move? What's the objective of taking that trade? Why might it actually trade through the VPOC instead of reacting to it? And so just having a VPOC alone is not enough. So you need to be asking yourself, what does it mean? That's a real key question. You always want to be asking yourself. So, two of the most important questions you're ever going to ask yourself when looking at any market, any trade, any opportunity. What does it mean and where is the trade? There's one thing to have an idea or to be thinking, oh, well, we've got this and this and this technical setups. We've got a VPOC here. They're references. They're points on a chart. Where is the trade? What's the point of the trade? Where do you think that market's going to go? Where can you get into the trade? That's what you're really asking yourself, not what are relevant points. It would be like looking at a map and recognizing that, you know, that's a motorway, that's a crossroads, that's various different things. Well, if you don't need to get a long distance quickly, the motorway is completely irrelevant to you. A crossroads as well. You can see it on a map, but it doesn't tell you who has priority at the crossroads. So you'll understand that as you come to it, because maybe you're on a minor road and you'll recognize that when you get to the crossroads, well, you don't have priority. And this would be the same thing as say a VPOC, where as you get to the VPOC, understanding the way you get there tells you a lot more about how much priority that VPOC has, whether it will stop and turn you or whether it is something that is going to move out the way. So what I'll try and talk you through is, and this question was particularly pointed at Bund, so I do apologise for anyone who doesn't trade Bund, but the point being that these are, what I'm going to try and talk you through is something that you'd apply in all situations. The questioning element, what you're trying to gain from how you look at how moves have developed, how profiles have developed, is the same for whatever market. This is not Bund specific. So, the other important thing to remember, that a pattern alone gets you into a trade. But if you don't understand how that pattern's arisen, it's not going to be able to enhance your conviction. The same pattern gives different results. The same pattern and the same reference points have a different level of potency depending upon how you've got there. So that's a really important thing to remember here. That just because you've got a head and shoulders pattern, just because you've got a prominent VPOC, how you get there makes a difference. And this is where your debriefing is so important. The way you note down what's been going on to inform you so that you know what's been happening recently. You have a good understanding of how people have been positioned or where people are positioned as well. So let's move on and we'll go through this to get up to today. And so this was the breakdown this morning just after the cash session and then going into the next hour. Big picture of how we've got to here. And this is something people don't often look at. They look at one pattern and go, all right, there's a pattern, we can trade this. Well, how did we get here? Is this a viable pattern? Is this a trade that has some degree of validity to it? So what's been going on recently? Well, if we go back, not last week, but the prior week, and you can start to understand, and this is what I mean about pulling apart what's been going on. You start to understand why we rallied last week. The week before that, on the back of a consolidation that started off with an initial drop and then basically, bar this sort of washout on the Wednesday, was a completely sideways week. Then, and let's take away any kind of fundamental side, because yes, I know this was ECB day, which took us lower. That's not what we're looking for. The important thing that we're looking for, and yes, I recognize that this is Fed day as well, the important bits that we're looking for is how we got there and what references we left behind. So looking at this week as a whole here, what we've got is your VPOC is left at the top. So Monday, Tuesday, create a VPOC up here at around about 74.86. And the rest of the week we fall away from there. Not a problem with that. We get this trending type move down. But you'll notice that VPOC never shifts. Value, the red line here and red line here, stays towards the top of the week. And we basically double the week without shifting value lower. That's a warning sign. That's saying to you that yes, we've got to move down, but this may not be that sustainable. You've not seen value accepted down here. Value from this week as well, obviously, is very much in the same area as here. So this is where value is over the last 2 weeks, and then we've rolled away from it. Now, implication wise, this doesn't mean that we're going straight back up. What this is saying to you is there is potential to go back up here. Unless we can bring value down, this is going to struggle to keep on going. So always think about things in terms of what does this mean? What's the implication here? So the late shift in value doesn't move value. Oh, the late shift down in the week doesn't move value lower, but it does keep us rather bearish on the week. Ultimately, we open here and we close here. That's a bearish looking week. You need to see value then shifted down as well. Acceptance of these lower prices. And we start to see that. And what we then end up with is, as this starts to happen and we get a test inside value, think about what this means. Test inside value up towards the VPOC of the middle of this day on Thursday. Test up there and we fall back. What's this going to do? If you're a seller, you're looking at this thinking, decent move down recently. We're testing back. Hold on to this VPOC, hold on to the ECB move down. Let's start selling. New low, new move down. And it doesn't materialize. So now the first 3 days of last week start actually getting sellers short down towards lows. And this is partly where I think people are of the view that Bund doesn't really want to know, doesn't know what it wants to do. It's not clear. One other thing that you needed to remember, and I put this out on one of my streams last week, perhaps on Wednesday, is that all the way down this, every time the Bund went to a low, it reversed back up. Down to a low, reverse. Low, reverse. Yes, it may have continued lower, but it struggled every time it got to a low. So any change in this format is telling you this has got more scope to the upside. That comes straight in on the Monday. So we've now got people short. And so this is them following on the narrative of what's going on. What does this mean? Well, it means if we've got selling and we've accepted value lower, this can keep going down. Where are these people going to give up once you start getting inside this week's value? And you then get gap inside last week's value, acceleration higher, and close the week up here. Once again, value's left lower, VPOC's left lower, value is also lower, the red line's just here. And so this is another unconvincing move up. We then have a similar type format. Head and shoulders pattern. And what happens is yesterday, and I'll bring this onto a more detailed chart in a moment. Yesterday, we get a move back up to Monday's range, which was the possible break higher. Back up to Monday's range and no ability to stay in it. So then this forms yourself a head and shoulders pattern. So how valid is this head and shoulders pattern? It's not really at the end of any major movement. So it's not a head and shoulders that has got huge scope to it, but it does have the possibility of taking us back down here on the basis of the same kind of pattern again, that a move late on in the week doesn't move value higher. So the move up is less sustainable. So target wise on this, ignoring measuring targets and things like that, you've got potentially all the way down towards this close, the top of this previous week here, down to around about 174. So it's about 100 ticks worth of target, which incidentally is around about the target of the head and shoulders as well. So is this a valid pattern? Yeah, I would say so, because you've got the potential that this later buying is looking for continuation. They've got it, then it fails. When you bring it onto a profile, you see it even more. Trend like move up. Good news for buyers here. That's a more sustainable move up. That's a sustainable move up. It is a strong close. It does need to see value shift, and this is why then the next day, and so this is then helping you even go into just the next day. On the back of this trend day, you need value higher to keep this move going. So this inherently could well be a balancing type day. You've got the top of value, this last area of low volume, and then the little peak of volume here. That's going to be the support area for buyers. So around about 174.90 to 95 area. And then top of value comes in at 74.07, sorry. So we consolidate. We then get a gap up. So this, on the back of a trend followed by consolidation, is good news. Not only have we continued to hold the close higher, which again, just above value is always a little bit of worry. And note also that the moves higher are all coming in the US session. This time we get a gap up in the European session. Very, very choppy. And what then happens? US session, down we go. So this is a change in pattern. What's the implication here? Well, the implication is that, yes, we have moved value up on the back of a gap up. We've not held it back up there, and we've closed basically in the same place as before. So now, this doesn't mean to say that the move is over, but on the back of a gap up, you shouldn't really be seeing a market that's coming back into the previous day's range. This is an indication that buyers are not that strong, that they perhaps recognize this gap up is not really what they, well, it's what they wanted to see, and it's not held on. So this is now telling you the buyers are not actually that strong. Given a gap up and the chance to break away from the last 2 weeks range, they've not taken it. So this is the point then where things start to change. Consolidation. Value back into this same area. We use the same support area again, around about 174.96. So this is now saying to you that buyers didn't fancy it up here. Not only that, they, apart from sort of passively buy down here, have not put in any ability to keep this market up. All they've really done is tried to buy the dip, or sort of passively bought to prevent it dropping any lower. Equally, on the news that we got yesterday, so this rush up, all that caused, and I'm not going into news and fundamental reasoning, but I'm looking at this from an implication of the technical movements. On this move up, all that's happened here is you've just run into sellers. Now these sellers could both be longs who are now looking at this thinking, I'm happy. Anything that comes up into here, I can get out. And also, so there's going to be long selling. There's also going to be new sellers looking at the inability or the gap down, inability to get back up to value, then start to sell again. So coming into today, is this VPOC important? Yes, it is. It's very prominent. We've closed higher. So from this day here, it is important. The real importance though from this is the reaction to it. If we react to it and stay above, this maintains that there is still a willingness of buyers to come in. Rather than wait to come down here, they're responding to the excuse me, to the open inside value and buying the VPOC. This would then give you the chance to come outside of value and potentially move back up here. So it's a sign of strength from buyers that not only have they brought it down here and managed to close it in the same place as previous days, but at least higher than value, this is a little bit of sign of strength. you now need to see them step up and start to buy from VPOC as well. So to show greater strength, that it's not a case of we'll stand lower and buy, they'll actually come up and buy. So they'll step forward to buy. So the reaction around that VPOC was really important. Once you don't see reaction, once you get through it, this should be saying to you, we've now got scope to move down. That buyers here seem to get it wrong. Buyers who've now twice bought it down here are struggling. Are they going to start to exit? So that's the importance of the VPOC in this scenario. It may be different on different days. The VPOC down here, for example, would be a potential for a dip buy. I'd be looking at that more as something that's going to pull back to, and then we end up holding down here. So this is one that you'd be looking at more as a reaction for a bounce back up, because all the way down a trend day, you're going to run into support. Whereas this time, having shown the ability potentially to go again to the upside, this needs to hold. And when you don't see it, this also, offers scope towards the downside. So where's the trade on this? This is the important bit. So you've built that information up. What are you going to do with it? What you can see from yesterday is that clearly this was yesterday's range. News took us up, touched on the main part of Monday's range and backed off. So this is the only bit of action that actually saw anything move away from yesterday's range. So obviously the lows of yesterday's range are going to be important. The VPOC then, we get a small reaction. So you do get a little bit of bounce off it. So this is showing now, remember this is coming in the initial balance. Early on there are people who do want to try and buy it. They've had a little go. They get nothing for it. You're on an open drive, which is an indication of early weakness, and the few buyers that do come in don't manage to hold it above there. So by the time the cash comes in, we're already below VPOC. So where's the trade? Well, the trade you've got here then is knowing that we've had longs that have struggled on this day, longs that have tried to buy it and even given a breakout on news, not managed to keep the move going. They're not likely to hold on. And so any break of the initial balance could well be your chance for a sell here, particularly as the cash is opening below the VPOC or the cash session. So this then offers the opportunity that some of the longs in here are going to liquidate, giving you a quick move down. Quick move down. Remember though, on the back of liquidation, who's doing what? It's longs selling this, not necessarily new sellers coming in. And you see that in the price action. It's quite sort of steady towards the downside. It wasn't heavy selling, push value down, sell again, push down, sell again. It's quite steady, sort of straight down, if that noise makes any sense to you. But so very sort of steady push down. We get a rotation, and this is really important as well in terms of what does that mean. This rotation back towards yesterday's lows and VWAP. We've already held VWAP once up here as well. If we're going to go lower, this should then result in a move through lows, and we don't get it. So the question is, what next? On the back of a liquidation move, this could then just balance. You're also getting more shorts building in here, so there's also that risk of this block reversal towards the upside. As over a quick move back up to where this move originated from, around about the VPOC. And that's exactly what you get. We've had a day again where it's sort of flipped one way than the other. You've got shorts coming in down here looking for a continuation move, and when they don't get it, when you get back inside yesterday's range, they get rushed out and it sucks you back up. Now where we go from here, harder to say. And this is where, having spoke to one of the other traders, was sort of still looking at this hourly head and shoulders, and that's not necessarily been invalidated, but it's clearly not got a great deal of conviction in where we want to go at the moment. And so therefore, if you are trying to play a short from up here, because you are getting a delta divergence, you start getting delta drifting off as we're moving slightly higher. That short is then, in terms of where's the trade, how much are you really going to be looking for on this? This is more a trade back down here. We've clearly been shown that given the chance to go lower, sellers haven't really come in. So the short here, you need to manage your expectations on it. And this is where it's so important about what does it mean and where's the trade. What does this mean? Well, shorts have been pushed out. Where's the trade in that? Well, either this continues back through VPOC and then shifts all the way back through yesterday's value area, back up towards today's highs, or we roll back down. But this roll back over until you get through here isn't then offering you the move towards the downside. So asking yourself, what does this mean and where's the trade, enables you to then think a bit more about how much you're really going to try and take out of any trade. So make sure before you take trades on that you're thinking a bit more about what's been going on. Not just how people are positioned, but how value shifted. Is it showing any kind of sustainability in any kind of movement? And also on top of that, what does it mean the liquidation move down? This block down here, what does this mean? We saw similar type actions at this on previous days as well. And I've talked about this block reversal trade numerous times in Bund. What does all of this mean? Yes, we've still got a bearish bias whilst we're below VPOC overall, but you then need to ask yourself, where is the trade? Can we get out of here? Can we continue that today, or is today just going to be another type of rotation down? So what you have to then think about is, where are you going to get into that trade if something more is going to come off this? On that note, I'll leave you guys to think that through. I will wrap it up there. Make sure when you're taking trades, you're looking at the context of what's going on and not getting sucked into, I want to play the large head and shoulders, therefore I'm going to get into a trade and just hope to hold it. Think about the stages that trade's got to go through. The smooth move all the way down now is perhaps not as clear as it might have been this morning.